When it comes to the elves in The Witcher, Vanadain is a pretty minor character who doesn't get a lot of screen time. His most prominent appearance was in the short story The Edge of the World, where he was part of Filavandrel's group of elves, along with Zeruviel, who you might be a bit more familiar with. Vanadain is such a small character in the books, when it comes to the things he actually does, that it wouldn't be much of a stretch to say that the most notable thing that he did in the books was play Dandelion's lute. That is until Zeruviel smashed it. Vanadain at some point in his life decided to join up with several other free elves to try and survive at the edge of the world, where he and the others relied on food they were provided by Tork, a sylvan. Elves never grew crops themselves, making them very reliant and dependent on what humans were growing. But even with a sylvan stealing crops from them, the group was still far from well fed. They wanted to learn how to farm, so they could start doing it in the mountains, isolated from humans. However, chances of the group succeeding were low, for if Tork was captured or killed, the group, including Vanadain, would have starved. Thus, when Geralt of Rivia was captured by the group of elves, when he was chasing Tork, the Witcher posed a threat to their lives. Vanadain would talk in Elder Speech with Galar and Zeruviel. However, when Geralt started talking back in Elder Speech, he proposed to place a gag on the two captives.
Gag them! Dwan will not be heard!
Whilst he was playing a bit on Dandelion's lute, although playing the lute is not the right description, it was more like making noise, in the process of which he broke one of the strings. But his musical moment came to an end, when Zeruviel decided to grab it out of his hands and smash it against the pine tree. When Geralt shortly after headbutted Zeruviel, Vanadain went to Geralt with a dagger in his hand, which he had taken from Zeruviel, ready to try and kill the Witcher, who was bound and had nowhere to go. As the elf was smiling at the prospect of killing Geralt, raising the blade to strike, he was stopped by Filavandrel. When eventually Danamiv showed up, Vanadain kneeled and lowered his head, in praise of the Lady of the Fields. She would speak to the elves via telepathy and convince them to spare Geralt and Dandelion. After this, Vanadain and the elves mounted their horses and went back into the Blue Mountains, awaiting for that time to finally return and claim what was theirs. About 20 years later, at the start of the Second Northern War, Vanadain, along with the other elves from the Blue Mountains, went into Dol Blathanna and took over the valley, as per the deal the elves had made with Nilfgaard. In the time after the start of the war, Vanadain would have a somewhat higher up role in the valley, as we are told that he and Filavandrel spoke to Stefan Skellen, as the Queen of Dol Blathanna, Francesca, didn't want to speak to him as she saw him as a grand imperial nobody. Presumably Vanadain stayed in Dol Blathanna, even after the kingdom became a duchy, but we simply don't ever hear from him again after baptism of fire. Also, there was this one elf in the Netflix show who seemed to have been Vanadain. Although he was not mentioned in the credits, he does play the lute in that scene, which makes him kind of fit the description. So, what do you think of Vanadain? I'm currently working on a video on the Mother of Crones, which should be released around Sunday. Till then, bye.